this is going to be an address or kind of a response to some videos I've seen and a specific person. So that specific person, I have to be precise in my speech when I discuss what this person believes and stuff, because I don't want to misrepresent them, which I might, which pardon me if I do. But I think I know what I'm talking about, and so I wanted to talk about someone who, if you don't know them, you've probably been living under a rock. His name is Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben is a very smart man. Ben is a very articulate, rational, logical thinker. And so, ever since I first heard Ben speak, or I saw anything with him, I immediately was like, I can deal with this guy. I can listen to him, because it's just not opinions and random, he's a pretty straightforward person, down to earth. So I was able to listen, and he grabbed my attention through that. And so that's how I know about him. I've known about him since 2016, probably around there. So I've been following him and listening to him for a long while now. One thing I do know about Ben, which is going to be the center of kind of what we're talking about in this video, is that he is an Orthodox Jew. He is in Judaism, which means he does not believe that Jesus is the Messiah spoken of within Judaism. So I've seen some videos in the past with William Lane Craig and Ben on his Sunday special, or, for example, John MacArthur. He's had some different people and stuff, but mainly like those two videos, and mainly the William Lane Craig video is the one I'm going to be trying to talk about today and address some things that were spoken of in those videos. But as I said, if you don't know, the difference between Judaism and Christianity is that Jesus is the Messiah and is that promised Messiah, and he's fulfilled that and all that. And so that's what Christians believe. Jews believe that Jesus didn't do that, but they still believe in the messianic figure and that they were, waiting for him to come. And so they're still waiting, people like Ben, because there is no affirmed, confirmed Messiah for Ben. He would tell you he hasn't come yet, or he's never going to come, or maybe he doesn't think he's going to come. I'm not sure. And so I'm not going to speculate or speak on that. But what I would simply say is I did hear him say what he said in these videos, and that's what I want to address today. And the root of it is the difference in Judaism and what Ben is willing to believe about Jesus and who he was, what he said about himself, and what he taught. So that was my quick way of getting through the meat of what I'm going to be talking about. And now I'm going to be getting to it. So with William and Ben in that video, William Lane Craig and Ben Shapiro, Sunday special, go check it out if you want to go watch it. They talk about a lot of things, but they get to the point where most theologians do when they're talking with Ben, to the point in the matter of Jesus. Okay, who was Jesus? Why do you think this about Jesus? And why don't you think this about Jesus? You ask that of Ben and you ask that of William, and they go back and forth. But there's this moment, and this is what I wanted to challenge with Ben. This is the whole response, the whole topic, the whole address I'm making to Ben here, which is that I do not know with entirety Judaism. I don't know the complete practices. I don't know, especially Ben's specific branch of it or how that works. And so I know what Ben has said about what he believes himself. And so in this video that I'm speaking of with William and him, Ben tells William, when William's explaining why he believes Jesus fulfilled the prophecy, so on and so forth, Ben tells him, the thing about Jesus is he's nothing like who the messianic figure was supposed to be described as. He's just, Ben goes on to say he's described as like this political figure who will set up a government, along those lines. Now, if you are in Judaism, you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you're a Christian, you probably know what I'm talking about. Because where he's getting those facts, where he's using that as a defense and saying, well, Jesus didn't really come to be what he was doing, so that Jesus can't be the Messiah, because Jesus is doing things that Ben said, no, this isn't characteristics of the Messiah. This isn't what he's supposed to look like. And so my argument and what William's argument would have been there, what William's argument is in the video and what my argument would have been in that situation too, is well, exactly. They didn't see Jesus and realize who he was and realize him for who he was. That's why they crucified him. Excuse me. That's why they crucified him. That's why they continually questioned who he was and just what he was doing. So questioning his authority and him questioning the authority and not adhering to it, kind of just being an authority himself. And so that never looked like what they were expecting the Jews of Christ's time as the Messiah to be. Now, there was people who obviously believed Jesus and followed him and said, no, this is who he is. And if you were to ask me, I would say, yes, he fulfills the prophecy perfectly. But this is what the Jews believed, and this is what Ben says he believes. And so I'm like, listening to the video, and I'm like, okay, I understand that. I've heard that before. But then he goes on to say, but that's the thing, Ben. William Lane Craig goes on to say, he's like, the most convincing moment, though, is when Jesus makes it obvious that he's equating himself with God, that he is the messianic figure, and he does it by associating himself. This was William Lane Craig's words. He says, the most powerful argument to me that he is the Messiah and that he is calling himself God and so on and so forth, is that he equates himself with the passage in Daniel chapter 7, and so I'll read it to you guys right here. And it says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven there came one like a son of man, and he came to the Ancient of Days, and was presented before him, and to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples and nations and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and the kingdom one that shall not be destroyed. And so, in this moment, when Jesus is before the Sanhedrin and he's being tried for blasphemy, they say, hey, he's like, what are you guys trying me for? And they're like, well, blasphemy. And they say, tell us, here, I'll go to the text. I'll just take you guys there. Because I don't want to just not say it correctly, right? Let's not misrepresent. So we go to, Jesus before Caiaphas and the council. So, yes, here we go. But Jesus remained silent, and the high priest said to him, I adjure you by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus said to him, you have said so, but I tell you, from now on you will see me, the Son of Man, seated at the right hand of power, and coming on the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his robes and said, he has uttered blasphemy. What further witness do we need? So, right there, Caiaphas, this very well-practiced Jew, immediately realizes what Jesus is doing. And so, Ben's immediate defense when William brought this up was, well, yeah, but calling yourself the Messiah isn't really equating yourself with God. Okay. So this is where my alarm went off. This is where my prophecy Bible verse alarm went off, and I was like, wait, that's wrong. Because that's not true. That is not true. And the very verses, the very prophecies, the very passages that Jesus gets the idea that the Messiah will be a political figure, that he will have an everlasting government, that it'll be on his shoulders, so on and so forth, is from the same passages that also say the Messiah would be a son, that he would be God. And so, to deny that God would ever come as a man, because I think some Jews have that belief that, God would never be a man, God's spirit, he would never get involved with matter and sinful men in flesh. And that's either a Gnostic belief or a Jewish one. It might be both. But the point is that they're wrong. Jesus did come, and that was the prophecy, right? You hear him quote that, and so he's saying to Caiaphas, you will see me coming on the clouds of judgment, seated at the right hand of power. And so he's equating himself with the Messiah. And so Ben immediately says, well, just calling yourself the Messiah doesn't mean it's blasphemy. And so it's like, well, what is this, Ben? Is this just a fabricated story then? Is this just Matthew writing whatever he wants to write? Because I don't think that's what's happening. If you go, which we will right now, to Isaiah 9. This will be very easy to explain, very easy to point out, very foolish of Ben to say. I think maybe he tripped into saying this, maybe he didn't mean to say this, maybe there's something I'm missing here. But Ben saying that kind of exposed him. And so that's kind of, I don't know if I said it at the beginning of the video, but he's a very articulate person. He's very rational, very logical. So when I heard this, I was like, okay, I want to believe you have a reason for this, Ben, but there's no real way around this. There's no way I'm arguing you out of this. And I'm a Christian. I want Ben to come. I want Ben to come to Christ. I want him to see that Jesus is the Messiah. He is the true promised one through the prophecies, but I can't force that, right? And I'm making this video now. Maybe he'll see it, maybe he won't. But the point is that it's not going to be me who does it. But it just shocked me to see someone so avid and articulate in everything he does to say something like he did then. Because, yeah, it's going to become very obvious when I read it to you, but in the same passage, watch, okay, you're in Isaiah 9, go to verse 6. Isaiah 9, verse 6. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. Now stop reading there and skip all the way to verse 7. We'll go back. And it continues and it says, of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. On the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. Now, the Messiah is to come through David. We all know that. Sit on the throne of David. I mean, come on. Ben, and I didn't read it, but Ben, you know it. What does it say? It says, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called what? What? It gives 4 names there. It says, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Now you tell me, Ben, you're a monotheist, right? You believe in one God. So who's this God coming as a son? Okay. I'm just going to go to one more. And you know this, Ben. I know you know this. You can't not know this. I don't know who's over you, wherever you're at, if they're not telling you this. It's frustrating. But I'm going to go to Micah chapter 5. Go to Micah chapter 5, guys. Micah chapter 5. Where's it at? It likes to hide in here. There we go. Okay. Micah chapter 5. And then go to verse 2. Micah chapter 5, verse 2. Now, Ben, are you ready? You got your pants on, your belt tightened. But you, O Bethlehem Ephrath, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you, O Bethlehem, who are too little among the clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel. Now think about it. I'm not done reading there. But the passage I read in Isaiah 9, the passage I read in Daniel 7, the passage I'm reading in Micah 5, what do they all have in common? They equate this messianic figure with God, and they say that he'll have an eternal and everlasting kingdom. What does it say right here? Here, look at it in Micah 5. What did it just say? One who is to be ruler in Israel. So, I mean, all these passages I'm using are fitting the picture for who Ben thought the Messiah would appear as. This political kind of figure, someone who the government would be on his shoulder, he'd be a ruler of Israel, or so on and so forth, right? What was it? Oh yeah, he'll have an everlasting kingdom, one that, Daniel 7. So, let me continue though. From you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel. Now, everybody knows, if you don't, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. So it's saying, from Bethlehem one shall come forth for me who is to be ruler in all of Israel, whose coming forth is from of old, from ancient days. I mean, who else is that? I mean, of ancient days, what does it say in Daniel 9? It says, and he'll be presented before the ancient days, and it's saying, this one to come is from ancient days, from the ancient of days. And so, we're getting all this cross, it's looking like this is all the same person here. Isaiah 9, Micah 5, Daniel 7, even more prophecies, Isaiah 53. All these figures that are being described in these texts are the Messiah. And so when Ben says, well, the Messiah isn't necessarily God, you're not calling yourself God when you call yourself the Messiah, well then who is that in Isaiah 9? Is it just some other ruler, some other Messiah who's supposed to come and the government's supposed to be upon his shoulders and it'll be some other everlasting kingdom? And that's why I immediately had alarms go off. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You stepped into a trap now. You can't get yourself out, because it's like, okay, there can only be one kingdom that'll last forever from this point on. And if there's two of these figures, one here in Isaiah 9 and then another one over here in Micah 5 and maybe even a third one over here in Daniel 9, why do you even believe this then, Ben? Why do you even believe in Judaism? It's very convoluted then if that's the case. But it's not convoluted, because this all speaks of the Messiah. One second. Sorry, thought I had someone at my door. But this all speaks of the Messiah. It's not a mystery. It's pretty straightforward, and so I could just keep going with these texts. But I mean, how do you get around that? I mean, after saying what I've said, how does Ben get around that? And so maybe I've misrepresented, maybe I'm missing something that has to do with Ben's theology, or maybe God just has not shown it to Ben at this time. He hasn't revealed it to him. And so, obviously, all Christians, we all hope that would happen for Ben. But it won't until God allows it, says so, and works within Ben to do so. So, that is my video today. That is my response to Ben. That is my address. And if you guys have anything to say about it, comment, ask. Share this and send it to Ben Shapiro. And this isn't really like, I feel like a lot of people will look at it like, oh, this is to get attention. But it's actually not. I thought about this for a long time, and ever since that video came out, because everybody, I feel like all the theologians who listen to Ben, or pastors, evangelists, apologists, whatever, when they're listening to him, they all want to get on that show because they want to be the guy who's there to kind of set it straight when it comes to Jesus being the Messiah, or whatever it is, the clash of Christianity and Ben's Judaism. So I personally think the person who needs to do that is Jeff Durbin, if anybody knows who that is, from Apologia Studios. You can go check them out. They're awesome. Him or Douglas Wilson or James White. One of those three guys would be perfect. They'd be perfect. And I think, he's had MacArthur on. He's had William Lane Craig on. He can have James White on. Come on. Or he can have Douglas Wilson. These guys are theologians, man. These guys are just different branches of denomination. You got Calvinist Doug Wilson. It's like, why can't you're getting in John MacArthur? Why can't you have Doug? Doug's got his own church. James has got his own ministry and has had his own churches before, I believe. He's in Apologia Church with Jeff Durbin right now. So I don't know. Maybe it's in the works. Who knows? Hey, maybe have me come talk. No, I don't know about that. Ben is intimidating. He's very articulate. And so that's why I've just kind of said over and over in this video, if it's just something I'm missing, then it's just something I'm missing. I just don't have all the tools in the toolbox to fight this argument. But it seems like he has no way out of the defense I made for Jesus being the Messiah, just in this 20 minutes I've had with you. So other than that, I hope you're having a great day. I hope that you're reading your Bibles, and share, subscribe, like, tag Ben, do all of it. Thanks again. God bless.